Do you like movies, comic books, science fiction, and more? Then you come to the right place. This is the Rebel Radio Podcast. You can find us at therebelradiopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and join our Patreon for just $2 a month where you get exclusive episodes. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to a new episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast. This is Mark.
This is Matt.
This is long. Just plain old long.
What?
Plain old.
No, man. Restart
Plain old
that.
long this week?
You're the Baba Yaga. All right? Long the Baba Yaga.
I was about to pick that.
Dude, that's what I expected from you. I knew you would pick it.
But the Baba Yaga is a witch. A Russian witch. I'm not a witch.
Then you're the Hitman. You're William Dafoe? No?
Yeah.
I mean, I know this weekend you'll be defrosting, you know?
Yes.
Yep. The winter storm.
Triple ice storm sweeping across America.
Yep.
Triple. Really?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's basically three cold fronts that have clashed together that have caused this.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's like that's what's called. It's called like a triple storm. That's why it's so big and sweeping across America.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's like three cold fronts that basically combine. It's like that's why it's like a super ice storm. And and in Texas, man, we're not used to this. We don't handle 25 to 30 degree weather well. Excuse me, where we live. So we will be doubling up our underwear and protecting our assets below our belt and not freezing our collective balls off, basically, if we can help it. You know, and because it's gonna be fucking cold Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, really the whole week. Honestly, it's gonna be pretty damn cold. But Monday and Tuesday are gonna be the really, really cold days. So, but.
Yep.
People will have a new episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast, which they're listening to right now, to listen to on Monday while they're staying warm. So hopefully they enjoy it. Ooh, yeah. Other than that, man, it's was a long week back, first full week back at work. I've been like an old man. I've been getting sleepy like at 8:30, 9 o'clock every night. It's like, it's been a lot of work.
Sometimes I find myself like, okay, I'm watching something after I get off work, right? Watching something on YouTube, and all of a sudden, I'm like napping, you know? Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? I don't remember dozing off. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, that happens. And but I survived the first full week back, and plus Valentine's, another commercialized holiday, so it's busy in the store, and
When the 13th or 14th?
It's the 14th. Fuck Valentine's. I don't even care. It's just way honestly, the whole month of February can go fuck itself if I'm being honest. But that's just a whole other story. But
how about history?
Oh no, that's all good. I mean, for personal reasons. The month of February can drop into hell and never come back. We can just have January, March, just 11 months. I'm good. We don't need 12 anymore. We'll just move all the February birthdays into March. So, yeah. But anyway, other than that, let's get into the show, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you know what though? I'm gonna call. Matt. I'm going to call you out on something here, man.
What?
Why? And do you share it with your boys? Why do you own an Austin Powers penis pump?
It doesn't even function, though. It's a prop.
But you still own it.
Yeah.
I bet you tried to use it.
It doesn't fit. It's too small.
You sent us that picture. You sent us that picture the other day, and I'm like, man, I'm fucked with him on the podcast. But why would you want to own a prop of that?
You know why?
Why?
Because I'm the international man of mystery, baby. Yeah.
No, you're not. You wonder why your poor sweet wife looks at you the way she does sometimes. I feel bad for her.
Mark, I'm unique. What can I say?
I can't believe Matt's a supervisor. He's so different.
I know, right? This guy's in charge of people. And then today,
and he's like a freaking drill sergeant.
I know. And then today we had an issue with something that he ordered at work, and I have to text him about it, and I have to be businesslike with one of my best friends, and I'm like, what? The boss is mad you ordered this. He fucked up. And then this is the same guy who later is talking about an Austin Powers penis pump. It's weird. I don't get it. So, and
it also comes with a receipt made out to Austin Powers for one Swedish-made penis enlarger pump. And it also comes with a pamphlet called "My Swedish Penis Enlarger Pump and Me. This kind of thing is my bag, baby."
Anyway, now we can get into the show. But I had to call you out on that. So let's get into Download This, where we tell people what you watch, streamed, checked out this week. Matt, why don't you go ahead and go first?
No, I'll go first.
Okay.
I did, guys. This week, I did actually like jack shit. Nothing. I did absolutely nothing. I surfed YouTube videos. That's it. Okay, Matt, it's your floor. Man, we got a lot to dig through here.
What a bum.
Yeah, for real. So Long was nice enough to drop off some Godzilla movies. A lot of Godzilla movies. And I watched 4 this week. I watched Godzilla. I watched Godzilla 1984.
Yeah,
love the new direction. I told you, I think the dark direction with Godzilla was awesome. I think the graphics are a whole lot better. I do like the campiness, but they belong in that era. Let's keep them in that era. It's keep that in the is it the Shoho or the Showa era?
Yeah,
Showa era.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, I'm getting my bearings around this Godzilla stuff now. So
the terminology.
Yeah, the terminology. That way I can speak the vernacular. So 1984, we have kind of a reboot, but you have some of the characters show back up. The pilot from Godzilla Returns is in this one.
Yeah.
And he's good. He's a bright spot, just like he was the only bright spot really in Godzilla Returns. And a couple other human characters. And then you have the Super X that comes in. It kind of basically this thing kind of looks like the owl. The Watchman's flight chopper thing. It's not really a chopper. I guess it hovers. It kind of looks like that thing, except it can shoot. It can shoot missiles and lasers. And then whenever you get to you get to, what was it? Mechagodzilla is the next one. No. What was the next one? Biollante. Whenever you have Biollante, you have Super X2, and that one can take Godzilla's atomic breath and shoot it back at him. So I watched Godzilla versus Biollante, and the graphics are even better on that one. I think because the monster that fights, just getting torn up to shreds with the atomic breath, it's awesome. And then right after that is
King Ghidorah.
King Ghidorah. What's that? What was the other one I watched then? Because there was 4. I watched a 4th one. Was it Godzilla versus Kong? It was Godzilla versus Kong that you had me watch.
Oh yeah, the original one.
Yeah, and that one, man, so campy, man. I know we're not going to get the same movie, but dude, Godzilla's just like clapping it up and having a good old time, like he's freaking Dennis the Menace. He's flapping his claws together after he breaks something or destroys something or knocks Kong down, and Kong's like getting drunk, man. Kong is he's getting drunk.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I have that one.
Yeah. And then whenever they're fighting and Kong like just takes the tree and shoves it down Godzilla's mouth, it's I find it awesome, like hilarious.
He basically laughs at Kong when he throws a tree at him. He's like, ah.
Yeah. And then the characters are like placing bets So, but I like it. You know, I see why, you know, why the universe got to where it is, why it lasted so long, and why it was successful. You know, I like King Ghidorah. You know, King Ghidorah.
If I remember right, Godzilla vs. Kong was one of the bigger box office hits too. It actually, it did pretty well at the box office because of the success of King Kong and the early Godzilla movies.
Yeah,
it was a hit in the States and also Japan.
Yeah. Apparently, you can't get the original, like the non-American version where they put the news anchors in, and you're confused. You're like, is this a newscast or something? You know, what's going on? But apparently, it's, I don't know about now, but apparently before it was just really hard to find the Japanese version off VHS. Trying to find it on DVD. A lot of it is the American version, but I enjoyed it. I like where this is going. The graphics have gotten better. I like this ruthless Godzilla. I mean, you know, just finishing up Godzilla versus King Ghidorah last night. Godzilla, you know, he comes face to face with a Japanese general that I know it's Mr. S. It's Mr. something. His name starts with an S. I can't remember.
Shohei, I think.
And he saved him, and Shohei was, you know, he felt like Godzilla was a friend, but then whenever he gets rebirthed there's this big time travel theme. And
this movie has time traveling in it. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah has time traveling in it.
Yeah, and
time paradox.
Godzilla is like terrorizing Japan, and he comes face to face with him again, and you see this like emotional connection start forming. Like, you know, the general is like, man, you know, Godzilla, you know, you saved me. You know, having, you know, I feel like these feelings of gratitude and praise are like coming through him, and then Godzilla just blows up the building, and I was like, man, that kind of bummed me out. I was like, I thought Godzilla was going to have a little heart there, but he continued to be
he blasted them with an atomic breath point blank. I forgot to ask you, remember that there's a funny little scene when they time travel, when they first appear, and then two naval officers see the
well, nothing can fly that fast. Well, what do you want to report it as? I'm not reporting it as anything. They'll think we're crazy. He's like, why don't you tell your son what you saw today?
Major Spielberg.
Yeah.
That's. But anyhow, and don't forget the big surprise at the end of that movie. Mecha King Ghidorah.
Mecha King Ghidorah by fusing the android, I guess, maybe I missed it. It looked like the android just kind of fused with King Ghidorah and made him like Mecha King Ghidorah. Yeah. I like the King Ghidorah stuff. You gave him an origin story in this film, and you know, he was cute when he started out with three little dragons, and it was funny because they're trying to plant King Ghidorah so that the A-bomb mutates King Ghidorah instead of Godzilla. They transport Godzilla somewhere else, basically. And you're like, man, you know, King Ghidorah, you know, doesn't look cute anymore. He looked cuter as three little dragons. But when the lady realizes that the time traveling, I keep wanting to call her Nancy. It's not Nancy. It's something else. The lady from the future. But she's asked, you know, hey, where are the three little dragons? And it's like, oh, we gotta go back to the future.
Yeah, so I'd say the second leg of Godzilla movies is more enjoyable compared to the first.
Absolutely, yeah. The graphics are better, and of course, I didn't have to rewatch Mothra because I've already seen the Mothra. That one I don't think is as strong as that one's not as strong. Yeah, definitely not. But it's still enjoyable. Still, the graphics are still there again. You know, and then the direction of Godzilla is the same. So definitely excited to see what the next few films have in store. I know I watched a few other things. Just can't remember. Maybe I didn't watch anything else. Maybe I'm just lapsing, But
you don't need to. WandaVision. I know we all saw.
Yeah, we'll let Mark get into that. So, Mark, what did you watch or download this week?
Kind of like Laurie, I didn't watch a whole lot, but I did watch something. I started watching the original Star Trek, actually, the original series. I've seen episodes here and there over the years, but I've never actually sat down and watched them in order. So I'm going to try to make the effort to make it through them in 2021. They're extremely slow. Sometimes it's hard to stay focused for the whole 50 minutes of an episode, but they're well written too. I could see just a few. I'm like maybe 4 episodes in, and I can see why, like, already just how Star Trek was so ahead of its time for 1966 and the issues it deals with, and just the story writing techniques. It has a real Twilight Zone feel to it, at least in those early episodes. Like, there's this mystery each episode, and Kirk and Spock have to solve it, and it's kind of a little spooky and a little scary, in a way. It's almost like, but I've seen some episodes of the show that I know aren't like that. They're more science fictionist, and maybe some of those early episodes is just the writers finding their footing, so to speak, as to what to do with Roddenberry's creation. I know, Long, you've seen all of them, huh? The original series. You're a big Trek fan.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Mainly the good ones.
Yeah. And, and it's just something I feel like, being a fan of science fiction, I was like, I need to complete this and make it through it at least once. And so I'm trying to give him a chance. I tell you what, though, those early episodes, Shatner, man, he bought into this show hook, line, and sinker. He's just enjoying the hell out of playing Kirk. You can tell.
For real.
He's got this real charisma to him, and he's just like, you know what? This is the swinging 60s. I'm going to be a sex symbol, and I'm going to have fun with. I'm going to have fun with it.
Any episodes that stands out for you?
The third episode, where I think it's where they got where the no man is going before. I think that's the title of the episode, which kind of became a call for Star Trek. That was a really good episode.
Yeah.
But it's fun, man. I really appreciate it for what they were able to do with set design on that show, and just using their imaginations, like when they're looking at stuff and there's nothing there, but Leonard Nimoy and Nichelle Nichols and them all have to act against these backdrops, and where there's really nothing but lights and sounds, and they do a great job. And I think that's what makes Star Trek work, is they had to sell this to an audience, that this was a believable universe. And I think they do a really good job with that just a few episodes in, because if the actors don't sell it, the show never works, and that's what's good about it. And so, I'm going to continue it on and see where I go with it.
Yeah, the first 2 seasons are really strong. They have some really good episodes, a lot of them.
Yeah, because I've seen the Tribbles episode, I've seen Space Seed, the Khan episode, and there's City on the Edge of Forever. I've seen some of those.
That's a great episode.
I've seen some of those popular episodes like that, so I have seen some stuff. But I wanted to watch them in order, so I've been giving it a chance, and so far so good. And I think that's. I want to say, I was watching I was watching some old Voltron. I don't know why. I just, I have a Voltron DVD with like the first 7 episodes, and I was watching that. And,
did you ever watch the Netflix? No.
I've seen parts of it. I want to go through and watch it. I've heard it's really good, and I need to sit down and watch it in order too, and give it a shot. But other than that, no real new movies or anything this week. Again, we're still kind of, other than Netflix and Prime Video, there's just not a whole lot to watch right now, with theaters still kind of shut down. But there's some stuff coming out. Amazon is going to have, Coming to America too, and they also are going to debut the Michael B. Jordan, Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan movie, Without Remorse. It's going to come to Amazon Prime in April. So there's some stuff coming. And of course, HBO Max has their movies coming out too. So hopefully there'll be some more new stuff to watch here before long. I mean, I know we got Godzilla vs. Kong coming out, of course, on HBO Max, but I'm going to try
which will be a feature.
Yeah.
No.
But I'm going to try to make it. I'm with you, though. I think I'm going to try to go to the theater to see it just because, it feels like something you want to watch on the big screen.
We can do that, and we could probably shoot some for some Korean barbecue afterwards.
There we go.
Drop the kids off at the.
I can't not go see Godzilla and Kong without Michael and Wyatt. They want to see that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like after we watch the movie, drop the kids off at your mom's, and we'll go for some Korean barbecue after that.
There you go.
No.
But But other than that, I did manage to get WandaVision watched today when I got home. It was okay. I'm still trying to figure out, like, I know Marvel has a plan and it's going to lead into the multiverse and Doctor Strange, but like, I just find myself with WandaVision just more distracted by it than really completely focused on it, and then it feels like you just fast forward to the last 5 minutes. That's all that's important, and that's this episode especially.
Well, I do like the Evan Peters, the Quicksilver scenes in the episode. Just trying to wean some hints of what's going on with him and to see. Obviously, he's not created by Wanda, but
no,
because so.
And then he may not necessarily. There were all theories last week about him possibly being the X-Men Quicksilver, but they kind of almost throw that out the window in this one. In a roundabout way, because he says something like, she's like, "Why do you look different?" And he goes, "I don't know, you made me." So, I don't know if they're throwing the audiences off or whatever, or if he's really not the X-Men Quicksilver, so, but then the kids have powers now, apparently. I don't know. I mean, there's 2 episodes left, I think, in the season, and we'll see how it pays off, And apparently it's going to be kind of a direct lead into next year's Doctor Strange, which is so strange. We're supposed to be getting that Doctor Strange movie here in a couple of months, but we're getting it next year now.
Did you catch the Kick-Ass reference?
Yes, which I thought was a little cheesy.
Yeah. Kick-Ass.
Because unless you're a diehard comic book fan, most people weren't even going to catch that. Most of your casual Marvel fans weren't going to catch that Aaron Taylor Johnson played Kick-Ass,
and that the guy who's playing Quicksilver now was also in that movie. He was in
Kick-Ass.
Yeah, he was one of the 2 friends that were.
That's right. That's right. I actually like the Kick-Ass movies, but for some reason I don't remember all the supporting characters.
I never saw the second one.
The second one
it's not as good as the first one, but it's got its moments.
Yeah,
the fight at the
in it.
Well, Jim Carrey hates the movie.
Yeah, he does.
The fight at the end of Kick-Ass 2 is cool with all the superheroes and everything. That's pretty cool.
You see Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey's in it, and he absolutely hates it. He got sold the script based on his agent's recommendation, and Carrey did not know how violent the movie was and everything. And it made. I'm surprised you don't remember that in the news. It made the news. He took a lot of flack for it, where people were like, "Well, you sure took a paycheck for doing the movie," and he's like, "Well, I didn't know it was violent." Like, but you're filming the movie, you don't know it's violent, and he wasn't real happy. He spoke out against the violence of the film and the use of guns, because Jim Carrey is very anti-guns. But at the flip side of that, you still made the movie, dude, and got paid for it. So it was kind of a weird.
But his character doesn't use guns. That was the thing. His character has a dog, and he uses his.
Yeah.
But there are other people in the.
Right.
Beating people up with guns, I guess. But.
Yeah, it does have one of the good lines from the 2 Kick-Ass movies. Like, you got a dog in your balls, man.
Yep.
But shoot, Jim Carrey would not be happy if he read the Kick-Ass 2 comic book, because his character is much more violent than that.
Oh, yeah.
But the Kick-Ass comics are way more violent than the movies. I mean, shoot.
pretty good too.
I've read all of them, but the third one, and they are pretty fucked up. They're not fucked up to the level of The Boys, but they're just no holds barred. They don't hold back in the comics. You know, I mean, if Hit Girl did some of the things she did in the comics, oh my lord!
Oh yeah.
I mean, she's something else in the books. But I don't know. Those were fun movies. Michael,
yeah, for sure.
Matthew Vaughn directed the first one, and he's a good director. So, but yeah, that's it. I mean, any other thoughts on WandaVision though? I mean, just kind of playing this out and see where it goes, huh?
Yeah.
But
she expanded the city, so now everybody's pretty much sucked in except for Wu and crap, I can't remember.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the ramifications of how Vision approaches Wanda now, since he obviously knows something's not right now. I mean, he's starting to figure it out.
Yeah,
and we'll see. But what's interesting too is, I don't know if y'all picked up on this, when Vision crosses through the barrier, he doesn't immediately die. So is he actually dead, or is he slowly being rebuilt? I wonder. Because like how his parts were coming off of him and getting sucked back in,
Yeah.
I wonder that, if he's slowly regenerating and coming back to life. Because if he doesn't exist and he's dead, wouldn't he have crossed the barrier and just disappeared? So I was wondering, that's just kind of my personal theory on that. Like, what's going on with Vision?
That was a good part. Whenever he encounters a neighbor in the vehicle, she's like, "Am I dead? Why would you?" I know. That?
I love and I love the fact too, man, that Marvel Studios is the show does look great. I mean, it's movie quality. And I'm glad that they're spending money on these to make them look good. I mean, obviously the trailer for Falcon Winter Soldier looks fantastic. So, so it maintains that Marvel quality. But, yeah. All right, well, we'll see what happens with next week's episode then. And let's get into today's featured film then. A movie from 2014 that kind of, last week we did our top 5 was movies that surprise you. And this, I think, is definitely one. I think when this came out in 2014, people wrote it off as a Keanu Reeves action movie that no one wanted to see. And then this was definitely a word of mouth movie. It came out, it got really good reviews. Friends told friends about, man, you got to see John Wick. It kicks ass. And that is the movie we're covering today, John Wick, starring Keanu Reeves from 2014. And Long, I'm gonna let you summarize this week.
Okay. John Wick. It's basically about a retired soldier. I put it in quotes, but he's actually a hitman. He settles down and gets married, falls madly in love. Wife gives him a puppy as a gift. Wife passes away. And then a bunch of punks come right through from Keanu's former associate. The punks come through and burglarize his home without really realizing who he was, who John Wick was. And they beat up John Wick, and they killed his puppy, and then, which is basically the only thing he has left of his wife. And he goes on a killing rampage, and he goes out and searches this and destroys the hapless hitman who, killed his dog. And John Wick, in a ballet of violence and shooting and car driving, exacts his revenge on the organized crime organization or family. And that's really the gist of it.
Yeah.
It's a revenge movie.
And they steal his car.
Yeah. But he also... But he's also a former assassin himself, and he worked for these people, like you said, and so he kind of gets drawn back into the game because of it, so to speak. It's interesting. I didn't know that this movie, was inspired by Marcus Luttrell's story. of course, Marcus Luttrell is the famous Army, or they were Army Rangers, right?
Navy.
They were Navy, who for that Lone Survivor is based on. And apparently some people broke into his house and very similar situation. They killed his dog, and Luttrell chased them across the county here in Texas, and until they were apprehended by police. And I did not know that. You hear a lot of Marcus Luttrell stories, and I had not heard that one until I was researching for this movie. So that's interesting. That this movie, I would never expected John Wick to have a Marcus Luttrell tie, but it does. The writers saw the story in the paper, and they kind of created a story around it with a lot more depth than just the Marcus Luttrell story.
Yeah.
So this is a movie, man. I do regret I did not see this in theaters, man. I was like, man, I wish I saw the sequels in theaters, of course, but because I wrote this off as just a Keanu Reeves kind of like, whatever,
Think about what had been coming out from Keanu Reeves. You had that horror movie that he did with the two smoking hot crazy chicks. And then you had the Man of Tai Chi and the 47 Ronin.
Yes.
And you're like,
I kind of like 47 Ronin, though. It's kind of a fun movie.
Yeah, you have some cool effects in 47 Ronin. But you're kind of like, okay, is this guy getting like Nicolas Cage? Is he going to just start taking anything, And,
yeah.
But
you're right.
John Wick comes out, and you kind of just write it off. And I didn't know about it until my cousins said something, and not my cousin Henry. My cousins from Chicago came to visit, and
how many
it was.
Do you have? You have a cousin Jill.
I have a lot.
He's Mexican, dude. He's got like 1,000 cousins.
Yeah, I have fifth cousins. I have a big family. But yeah, these are my mom's oldest brother's kids. They came from Chicago because he used to visit once a year. Now he very sparingly he visits, but they came over and they're like, "Hey, have you seen John Wick?" And I was like, "No, I haven't. I saw it came out, but I didn't think it was going to be that good." He's like, "Dude, this guy basically kills a bunch of people because they fucked up his dog," and I'm like, "Well, this sounds interesting." And then I think you beat me to it, Mark. I think you saw it, and you're like, "Dude, you have to see this movie." And I'm like, "Okay, I definitely have to see it now." Mark's putting his stamp on it. I really need to see it, and I bought it. It was awesome.
What's crazy is, besides Keanu Reeves, it actually has a pretty good cast. I mean, you've got Willem Dafoe in this movie.
Yeah.
Adrian Palicki, she looks smoking hot as an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Alfie Allen coming off his work in Game of Thrones. Dean Winters is in it. Ian McShane, who's always a good actor and stuff. So it has a pretty good cast around it too, and it's directed by Chad. I don't know how to say his last name. Him and his brother did it. Was it his brother or just their like buddies? David Leitch, yeah. And immediately his style stood out to me as like, this guy's watched a lot of Hong Kong action flicks. You could tell right away. And then I went and read an interview where he talked about it, and he's like, yep, he was very heavily inspired by Tsui Hark and John Woo and those directors over there. He watched a lot of those films growing up, and they wanted to make action movies in those styles of the Hong Kong films they watched. And I was like, that made me like it even more when I found that out. And then the fact that Keanu learned a lot of gunplay and martial arts play using guns himself, and he trained really hard to make it look realistic so he could do his own stunts. And then when Adrian Palicki came on set, she was like, well, if he's doing his own stunts, I'm going to do mine too. And she did a lot of her own stunts as well. And I appreciate that when actors do that to make it feel more realistic. And Keanu was already a martial artist at this point, but in this film though, he learned how to take the martial arts and using weapons at the same time to move the guns around in that same kind of gun kata fashion to make it look more real. And he said that was all new for him, to learn how to do that. And
if you see the video, I think everyone's seen the videos of him shooting at the range. That's Terran Tactical. It's a very famous gun range. It's known by a lot of sports shooters. But
that was the video that went around for the third sequel when it came out.
Yeah,
him and Halle Berry. Yeah.
He also trained during this one, and it's also home to James Cameron. James Cameron uses it for whenever he's training. He's making sure his action movie actors get trained. Shamar Moore, Michael B. Jordan, Jennifer Garner, Colin Farrell, and Chris Hemsworth all trained over there for their recent movies. So it's home to a lot of good action movie, pre-work. Yeah, man, he just super impressive. He could actually probably pull off most of those shots himself. And that's what I like about this film. It's very realistic. I mean, it's not like The Matrix, where you kind of rely on the slow motion and the over dramatic
special effects.
Yeah. It is straight, dirty, grungy action, and realistic too. So, shout out to that for having that really real feel.
Yeah, this has. I'm gonna let Long talk here, man, because I know he'd been looking forward to watching this again.
Yeah,
but like this movie has a feel of like that gritty, that 80s raw action films, the craziness of the 90s, but then very much a modern feel to it too. So it mixes all those different eras together to create something that felt fresh but yet familiar, in this film. And so Long, man, revisiting John Wick, man, how do you feel?
Yeah. The number one thing I appreciated about this movie is that there's no shaky cam.
Right.
It doesn't do quick cuts that cheat the action. All shot in wide angle. You can see the entire action unfold seamlessly. You know that they're doing stunts in a realistic manner. So there's. I love the cinematography of this movie. The use of the colors, especially the nightclub sequence where he's going in after Alan Alfie's character. It just feels like every scene in this movie has a distinct feel or a distinct look good. Going from the first scene, action scene in the house, that's all clean and shadows, but you'll see what's going on. And but yeah, this is definitely one of the best action movies to come out. Really, even this and Mad Max Fury Road raised the bar for action movies. Or brought movies back to the fundamentals.
They rejuvenated the genre, I think. Yeah,
for sure.
It because it was pretty much pissed on and watered down by stuff like Fast and Furious, and and I know, Matt, you probably love those movies, but I feel like Hollywood has cheapened action to the point where
there's no comparison to John Wick on those movies, really.
Well, I agree. Along, it came to a point where action movies were becoming kind of self-parodies of themselves. You just had big name actors doing work, all the use of wire work and stuff like that. It was taken away from more realistic filming and practical effects and things like that. It's like I mentioned before in the show, like the Kingsman movies, like they're fun movies, but there's no realism to the action scenes. It's all wire work and moving actors around. And so it comes across as being like kind of a fake action, even though it looks cool on screen if it's edited properly. And it's nice to see actual stunt work done in movies and weapon usage that's done in a way that feels real and not just wire work or special effects. And not only that, it's all wrapped around what seems like on the surface a silly story about, oh, my dog's dead, I'm going to go kill a bunch of people. But then there's this whole other world around that, of assassins. And we're not going to get too much into part 2 because we might do that one day on the show. But then in part 2, the world opens up even more. It's so deep as to how deep John Wick's world goes. And even into part 3, and hopefully next year when part 4 comes out, it goes even deeper. I mean, it's to the point where they're developing a television show called The Continental, where we get to look more at the workings of the hotel and how this assassin world works. And I think that's what's really cool about John Wick also, is that people, like Matt said earlier, people dismissed it as, a Keanu Reeves movie where his dog is dead, but there's so much more to this movie too. but yet that is what drives the plot as well too. The fact that his dog died.
John Leguizamo, even though he has a small part in this movie, I kind of like John Leguizamo in this movie. And they're like, he's like, you fucked up his dog. That's what you did. And he just knocks him, punches him out. He's like, you don't know who you basically don't know what you fucked with. And
I do too. And I wonder why. Oh, I just wonder why they never brought him back for the sequels, because I like him too. You know.
Yeah, he was good as the chop shop guy. You know.
Yeah.
And then when the dad calls, he's like, I heard you punched my son. What the fuck you do that for? And he's like, because, sir, your son, he punched John Wick, you know, the guy.
He stole his car.
And he'll shove it up your butt, and shove the pencil up your butt, and you'll die. And he's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, and that was another thing. Like, Keanu in his movies always say, like, Keanu's known to say whoa or oh. They purposely had Keanu not say that in this movie, but they had other actors say it. Whenever they mentioned John Wick's name, they would go, oh. Yeah.
That's funny.
Whoa.
Yeah. He once killed a man with a fucking pencil.
And that's the thing. This movie is 7 years old almost, and it's become instantly quotable too, man. People
For real.
already quoting John Wick, the famous scene towards the end of the film where he goes, people keep asking me if I'm back. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. I mean, how many times have you heard that quote over the last few years? Quite a few, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the movies, they've become instant pop culture successes, and the franchise has gotten better. I mean, 1 is good, but I think 2, I actually think 2 is a better movie. 3 is good, but I didn't like it better than 2. You know,
I like the action in 3.
Yeah.
I love the part 2 has a really cool subterranean shootout scene.
Yeah.
You know, that's a really standout scene. That's the only scene I remember in part 2 that stands out to me. If you guys remember any standout scenes in part 2, well,
I think the shootout at the end. Yeah, the shootout with Ruby Rose at the end of the film too is really good.
Yeah,
and the fight with Common.
Yeah, part 3, I like more of the fight in part 3 more. The knife fight in the library was good. The fight in the horse barn was good. It was brutal.
Yeah.
The motorcycle chase scene was good. Mm-hmm. The hotel shootout was awesome.
And then when he challenges the Iron Chef. Yeah.
The dude, the top floor fights between the Kanji Club and himself. Kanji Club from Star Wars. Because I've only seen them in those movies. I haven't seen them Raid 1 and 2 yet. What else? But yeah, I like. Oh, and the dogs, and shootout scene with the dog. That was so cool. You know, but I felt part 3 had the stronger action scene, even though it's not strong character wise. I just felt that part 3 was more memorable. You know,
the knife fighting was brutal in the third film. I will say that.
Oh, and killing that big dude with the book.
Yes.
That's brutal. Yeah. But I felt part 3 had more memorable fight scenes, but part 2 explored more of the assassin world. You know.
Yeah. But I think we should be very grateful for John Wick coming out in 2014, and like I mentioned a few minutes ago, just kind of rejuvenating the action franchises for modern times, along with Mad Max Fury Road. They both get credit, and I'm this is a franchise that I thought, like, you know, how much can they do with it? But I want to see more. I know they're filming. They're kind of basically doing 4 and 5 back to back. I mean, I know he's already filmed 4 and it'll be out next year, but then I guess he stopped doing the Matrix. He's going to go back and do 5. But I also hope they don't water down John Wick by doing too much. You know, that's like, I mean, but it's a cool enough character, and that, you know, I want to see more and see what they can do with it. Yeah. And I'm glad this came out when it did, and I I regret not seeing it in theaters. And I know he listens to the show, so I'm gonna have to give, like Matt said, his cousin recommended it to him. Omar, he is a friend of mine, works for a company we met through work, and he's the one who told me to go see John Wick, and he kept bugging me, and I never saw it in theaters. I finally saw it on DVD, and he's like, "I told you it was good, man." So I got to give Omar props for recommending John Wick to me, because I know he listens to the show, so if I don't give him props, he might get mad at me. But yeah, so I mean, how do you guys rank this movie?
A freaking plus.
It's definitely an A, at least A.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go quite A plus, because I like part 2 better, but I can definitely give it an A for sure.
Yeah,
damn good action movie.
Mm-hmm.
And which leads to our top 5, and top 5 movie shootouts, basically. That's just the simple title for it. And I guess I'll start this week, since I think Matt started last week. At number 5, I kind of the final fight in John Woo's A Better Tomorrow Part 2. Now, A Better Tomorrow Part 1 is known as the better film, but the shootout, the end of Part 2, is kind of the shootout that made me a John Woo fan, because I'm pretty sure I saw it before I saw The Killer or Hard Boiled. But if you think the church scene was crazy in The Killer, you got to see the fight. Just look it up on YouTube. You can watch the final battle in A Better Tomorrow Part 2. There's just guns blazing everywhere, firefight, shootouts, and that's my number 5.
Nice.
I'll go next. My number 5. We'll let Matt have the last spot since he loves guns and shit. Number 5. I actually have an honorable mention first. My honorable mention is from a comedy called Hot Shots Part 2, where Charlie Sheen's character is like shooting up an entire village of Iraqi soldiers that are attacking him, and then there's a kill count at the corner of the screen that tallies up all the kills he's done, and then he starts running out of bullets, and so he sees a box of ammo, and he grabs a handful of ammo and starts throwing the bullets at these soldiers, and they all start dying.
That's awesome.
A handful of bullets at them. That's my honorable mention. But number 5, starting off, is Hard Boiled. There's so many great shootout scenes in this movie. But one of my favorites is the scene at the lobby of the hospital, where Chili and his partner, Raimish, have to cut their way out of this hospital scene, and they're trying to survive, and they're using push cart stuff, and it's a really cool scene. But it's actually tied with another giant fat movie, and it's this first American movie with replacement killers, and his alleyway shootout scene is pretty good too. And that's my number 5.
Okay. My number 5 is Boondock Saints. When there was a firefight scene when their family member that they find out later, it comes in there and he's got like friggin' 8 pistols strapped to his vest, and you have William Dafoe just conducting in the middle of the street where it happened, recreating the scene. I think that's it's a memorable shootout. It's probably the best shootout in that film, and definitely a movie we've talked about on the show, and got that as my number 5.
I still like that movie a lot. I like the Boondock Saints. It's a movie that should not have been the hit it is, but I enjoy the hell out of that movie.
Heck yeah.
At number 4, I have the lobby shootout in The Matrix. It's early in the film, but we find out that early on that this movie is not what we expect it to be, and it's and it just sets up everything that The Matrix is after that for the rest of the series. And it's just a badass fucking scene, that lobby shootout.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cop killer. My number 4 is the opening shootout scene to a comedy of Naked Gun 3. It moves the Untouchables shootout scene.
Oh yeah, the stair steps.
The stair steps.
Yeah.
But the Naked Gun 3 treatment of it, I like it a lot. So memorable to me. So, yeah.
Awesome.
And it's beautiful.
My number 4 is the bar shootout from Desperado, when El Mariachi comes in there and he's got like guns like coming out of his sleeves.
I had that scene on the outside looking in. It almost made my list. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just really good. I mean, there was some good shootouts in Mariachi, but Desperado really had some awesome shootouts. The bar shootout probably the best one in that film, in my opinion.
Yep. At number 3, I have the final fight at the end of Open Range with Kevin Costner and Robert Duvall, where they take on the sheriff and his gunmen and all that. And the scene is so wonderfully shot by Kevin Costner. It's one of those where it's not shaky cam. You can tell what's going on. It's a hell of a firefight as him and Duvall try to survive all that. And it has this intensity to it, and just a fantastic scene to end a fantastic movie. One of the best modern westerns we've had.
My number 3 has definitely one of the best emotional payoffs for a western, and the final shootout scene that needs to be Unforgiven. It's just a great emotional payoff to what the sheriff did to his best friend, and he just wanted Clint Eastwood's character to go in there and show what's up. He did his friend wrong, and he was going to make sure that no one walked out of that alive. So that's my number 3, Unforgiven. Final scene.
My number 3 is the Matrix lobby scene. I've got this one a little higher, maybe because I was younger when it came out, and just what follows it: guns, lots of guns, and he just walks to the metal detector, and the security guard's like, "Holy shit!" and then he just blows them away. They're running all over the walls. The gun shells just dropping on the ground. I just think it's beautiful. So I've got the Matrix lobby scene at number 3.
At number 2, I have could easily be number 1, but I didn't put it at number 1, and that's the bank robbery shootout in Heat. One of the most incredible 10 minutes of film possibly ever fucking put on screen. I mean, that whole bank robbery shootout is just unbelievable. If you're not engaged at that point in this movie, then you're not paying attention, because it's such an incredible scene. It's shot with very little music, so it's all just pop, 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 the guns going off, and quite an awesome scene, and brutal, because there's citizens around and people, and the police are trying to do their jobs, and the bank robbers are trying to get away, and what a scene, man! And maybe I'm throwing out a preview, but we're doing this movie in April, and I'm really looking forward to talking about it. So
that's a really good shooting scene.
Yeah, my number 2 is gosh, I haven't seen this movie yet, but I have to kind of spoil it. Matt, cover your ears. Matt, cover your ears. I don't want you to hear this. So, number 2 is Hell or High Water, and there's an action sequence in the middle of the movie that just raises the level up, and it explains everything that's happening in the first half, and basically the second half of the movie starts in this movie with Chris Pine and Ben Foster. But Hell or High Water. I think it's
$5 again this weekend on Voodoo, Matt. Spend the $5 on Hell or High Water. You'll thank us.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
Number 2 for me, I've got the Circle Club shootout from this movie that we just featured today, John Wick. Everything is practical. 90% of these stunts were done by Keanu Reeves while he had a 104-degree fever. And that's why there's such a real feel to it. The shots are beautiful. The action is real. It's believable. And it's, like Mark said, it's a combination of old and new. Just comes together really nice. So, got John Wick, the Circle Club shooting.
All right. Well, my number 1, along trying to steal my thunder early on in the show with his number 5, is the I'm just kidding, Long. Is the hospital shootout in Hard Boiled. It is the movie that made me the John Woo fan I am today. Still one of the greatest action sequences I've ever seen. We covered Hard Boiled a couple years ago, and just a incredible film that still holds up well today. I mean, that action sequence still holds up with today's action sequences. Quite a masterful scene, the hospital shootout.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go big with this one, guys. Number 1 is the final shootout scene in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, where Mechagodzilla starts shooting his eye lasers, his finger missiles, his chest lasers.
And it's a
game of explosions. And then Godzilla's using his atomic breath. No, I'm joking. That's just a joke. My number 1 really is kind of a cheat, and it's really any shoot, gun scene in John Wick. They're all innovative. They bring more. They're either innovative. They either bring things back to the fundamentals of how to do a good shootout scene, or they shoot it in a way that's beautiful. So, yeah, really any gun shootout scene in John Wick in the whole trilogy thus far is my number 1. So, it's a cheat, I know, but I have to.
All good. For me, I'm siding with Mark. I think that there is no better shooting scene than the hospital scene in Hard Boiled. I mean, there's so many guns used. They use like 100. I think they use like 100 guns, 100 different types of guns, all different kinds in that scene. It's just ridiculous. The amount of ammo and blanks that they had to load for that scene, it's ridiculous, and that's why it's number 1, because it's crazy.
Yep. Good deal. And I was wrong. Hell or High Water is not $5 this week. It must have been $5 in today's sales change. They run out and sale all the time. You're gonna have to grab that movie, Matt.
More than $5.
It might be streaming on Prime too or something. I'm not sure.
Maybe so.
But yeah, good top 5. Let's do a little news before we preview next week's movie and get out of here. And the big news this week, I don't want to get too much into the politics of this, but of course Gina Carano has been fired from her job at Lucasfilm and Disney for some comments she made on social media. The news, the aspect I want to take on this on the news is just you guys. You think they should recast the role or write her off? I personally say recast. I think that even though her character was only a handful of episodes, I do think they dropped enough story threads in there to make her important enough that you can't just write her off, that you should recast it.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I think, look at the character. She wasn't a damsel in distress. She wasn't this princess. She was a fighter. She was the last survivor of Alderaan. That's a really good origin, and it's a good story. And then this redemption of coming back and maybe joining the Rangers and having a higher purpose other than town marshal for Grief Karga. I think you have to continue this character somehow.
Yeah, and I'm not always a big fan of recasting because it messes with the continuity. But so does writing a character off with a weird explanation. So in this case, I'd rather take the recast. What do you think, Long?
I think they should kind of. This is kind of like the second time I've seen the character that should have transferred over to a different show. But Star Trek did it differently because at Star Trek: The Next Generation, they had a character named Ensign Ro, who was, a Bajoran who had, a background. And then Deep Space Nine premiered, and they were going to transfer Ensign Ro to the Deep Space Nine show, but they created a new character named Keanu Reeves to take that spot. So I say they probably just create a new character with a similar background, and then just do it that way. Because if they recast the character, I'm kind of afraid for the actor to take over that will be constantly be harassed by Ronald fans, and being continuously compared, to her. So for me, if I was running the show, I'd say I would create a character that's similar in background, but different character, different actor.
That's
similar. Up to me.
That's a different take on it, but yeah.
Yeah, and besides, there's you could probably, and if it's based on regular soldiers, I mean, they could come up with a different character altogether, and because there's a lot of soldiers who fought in the Galactic War, and they're going to be relatable no matter what. I'd say they could bring over Mayfield, who's a Rid from Mandalorian, and he has a and the outsider like Mayfield, who's so used to Imperial protocol, now he has to adjust in Republic society. So that's interesting. So.
He's a good character right now. I mean, just after that episode of him in the second season, I think he's got a lot of commodity right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, really, I've seen in the Star Wars meme sites, they always say we have to pay tribute to Mayfield for his death and sacrifice. I still see memes sometimes, more so than the Corano stuff. I never see any Corano or what was her name in the show? Cara Dune. I never see any Cara Dune memes. Not like Mayfield.
Yeah, not like Mayfield.
Yeah. You judge a character's importance by how many memes they have. And so far, Cara Dune has no memes that I've seen.
Well, she's got a lot now.
Yeah, but they're not related to the story,
No.
Sticking with an actor from The Mandalorian, it was announced this week the main characters for HBO's The Last of Us television adaptation. And Pedro Pascal plays The Mandalorian, is going to play Joel, and Bella Ramsey is going to play Ellie from. They're both from Game of Thrones. Pedro's not the person I would have thought. Obviously, I think a lot of people had Josh Brolin in mind for Joel, but he's probably a little too old at this point. I also thought the guy who played the bad guy in Logan, was it Scott Holbrook, who's going to be in the Sandman series? I always felt like he could be a good Joel. He's got that southernness to him. But we got Pedro Pascal, and I still think it's good casting. It's just not who I would have thought. And people are asking, what does this mean for Mandalorian? Absolutely nothing. The Last of Us is scheduled to go before cameras here, like I think in May or June, pretty soon. And Mandalorian is a shorter shoot, and it's not on location because they're doing it all in the studio shooting. So apparently the schedules will work out where he'll be able to do both. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed on. So I don't think it means anything from the Mandalorian. He's still going to do both shows. But I'm excited for this. Video game adaptions, we've talked many times. You never know what you're going to get. But man, HBO's track record is really good, and I have faith that they're going to make a faithful adaptation of The Last of Us and do a really good show with it. So, and I will be watching for sure when it comes out. And non-PlayStation users over there like Matt will just have to watch the show since they've never played the game.
I've survived this long.
The guy who, I don't have his name written down, who's directing Godzilla vs. Kong, he's going to direct a Face Off movie. And at first people were believing that it was a remake, and he's come out and said no, him and his script writer, it's actually going to be a direct sequel to the original Face Off. And he would not give any hints yet whether it's going to be Castor Troy and Sean Archer or not, and John Travolta and Nick Cage. He was kind of coy about it, said you will just have to wait and see. But this is kind of interesting because there's no reason to remake the film, but the idea of a sequel could be interesting, especially if you could get Cage and Travolta to come back and play the roles again. For some reason, Castor Troy gets out of jail. Who knows? For some reason. So I don't know. We'll see. I know Long was kind of meh about it, but it could work. You never know.
Yeah.
Just depends how strong the script is. And lastly, this bit of news is kind of leading into our preview for next week's film, but CBS has ordered a pilot based on True Lies. I don't know. I read that and I'm kind of like, why? It's one of those taking a good things and trying to turn it into something that it doesn't need to be turned into, especially network television. It's like, no reason.
Yeah.
But that was interesting news. But that does preview next week's film. A movie that is very popular with a lot of fans, and one of Arnold's better movies out there. And of course, he always made his best movies when he worked with James Cameron. And so we are going to go big next week and talk True Lies.
How'd it go at the convention, honey?
You were the big hit of the show.
It's fantastic. I love the computer business.
For 15 years, Harry Tasker's been leading a double life.
Mr. President, one of our best men is inside.
Transmitting now.
Right on time.
I don't believe I've met you before.
Rehnquist. Harry Rehnquist.
Listen to the following code word. Helen. Helen.
Now, they're about to collide.
What's your exit strategy?
I'm gonna walk right out of that front gate.
May I see your invitation, please?
Sure. Here's my invitation.
Yeah, that worked good. Right out the old front gate.
Can you lean back a second?
Mr. Tasker's office.
Hi, it's Helen. Is he in?
Harry's in a sales meeting, Mrs. Tasker.
It's not like he's saving the world or anything.
See, this is the problem with terrorists. They're really inconsiderate when it comes to people's schedules. Could you press the button for the top floor, please?
Hi, Helen. Harry forgot something back at the office.
Whenever I can't sleep, I just ask him to tell me about his day. 6 seconds and I'm out.
Maybe it's just that you're not in touch with your feminine side.
Harry! What were you doing there?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. You know what this is? It's a snow cone maker. Is it a water heater?
From James Cameron, director of Aliens and T2. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's a Soviet Mirv 6 from an SS-22N launch vehicle.
I married Rambo.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Have you ever killed anyone?
Yeah, but they were all bad.
True Lies.
What can I say? I'm a spy.
A movie that has never been released on Blu-ray in the U.S., but you can watch it on Amazon Prime. It's actually available on there to watch. I don't know if it's on high definition, but it is on there. But it's been a while. I bought a bootleg of this and I watched it, and it had been a while since I'd seen this film, and I'm like, man, it still holds up really well, and it should be an exciting film. I know Matt, you're a big fan of it, and Long too. So that's next week, man. Spoiling that.
Young Eliza Dushku in there.
Yeah.
Oh, you like No.
She plays her daughter, right? Yeah, she's her daughter.
Yep.
But so it'd be fun next week talking some True Lies on the show. I know a lot of fans of this movie, so hopefully we do it justice talking about James Cameron's True Lies. So on next week's show. That's all we got though this week. Though stay warm out there as this ice storm sweeps across America, and be safe. Watch the roads. Some scary stuff in Dallas Fort Worth the other day.
Yeah.
So just be careful out there. And but thank you as always for listening. We do appreciate it. And until next week, this has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
This is Long, the Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
Oh, he's out to play them. Until next time, remember, just go there and do it.